SANY.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Group 2, and the company that we will asked to evaluate is the SANY Group. In our choices, we have narrowed that down to SANY Heavy Industries, which is one portion of the group, and we've decided to go for one product in their line, which is the concrete pumping trucks. A little bit of history. The SANY Group was started in 1989 by Liang. Every time I say his name, I'll get it wrong, and I feel terrible about it, but he is the richest man in China, so I should try a little bit better. Liang Wengzhen, Tao Jingzhao, Mao Zongzhu, and Wang Jinhua.
Are you sure?
They started the company straight out of university, and it has grown over the years to an estimated market value of $15.5 billion. They focus on development, as you can see, manufacturing, distribution of engineering machinery products. Concrete machinery is their largest portion of the business. In China, on concrete pumps, they account for 54% of the market. They have entered into the overseas market with subsidiaries, and they have, as I mentioned, 20 products from 5 categories. A quick list: 4 of the top people in the company are listed in the top 10 billionaire list in China. So it was in the research, I discovered a company that should be noted, worldwide, and I'd never heard of them prior to asking the question when we got the list on the board. So it's been a very interesting exercise. In the market environment, the demand for concrete pumping trucks is shrinking in China. They have a very strong competitor in a company called Zoom Lion there that has 46% market share, but China is not where we focus in. The concrete pumping trucks, $4.5 billion estimated revenue potential worldwide. The reason we chose the German market is due to the fact that the biggest competitor in the world to SANY in the concrete market, Meister, is based in Germany. SANY's entry into the global market via Germany, we see them as a de novo entrant. They were very clear on their intent. They, as you will see when I go through the timeline, they stated they were going to go into Germany to start, and there was no camouflage, there was nothing hidden about the way they went about it. The nearest competitor in Germany, as I mentioned, Meister. Schwingstätte is the second largest, and then there are a few small competitors that are not making much impact on this presentation. The company and the owners, they have followed a very strong Maris model. They have always been focused on R&D. They have always been focused on acquisitions and growth within the company in general. And as you can see, the history going back prior to the 5 years that we were looking at included some large acquisitions, and the acquisitions have been in ways to find and finance their own growth at times as well. If you see, going in and taking an 18% stake in a commercial bank. They have consistently increased, as you in 2008, increased their R&D facilities. Meister, they are world leaders in the concrete pumping truck market. UAE, they were set the world record with the highest piece of equipment being used to work on the Burj Dubai in the literature, but we know the Burj Khalifa. And they are a very interesting company in the fact that they are still privately owned. So tracking certain of their financial records and financial history and plans was not as forthcoming as some of the listed companies that we could have looked at out of China. In 2009, when SANY stated their intention to move into Germany, they started their own R&D, the building of an R&D industrial park for the SANY group in Germany. At the same time, Budmeister was going through a restructuring to look at the Americas, emerging markets, Middle East, Africa, and Asia Pacific. Budmeister have not made the impact into China that they could have or were targeting. And again, through the years, they have both been very focused on developing new and efficient systems for pumping concrete. 2011, we have a grand opening of the industrial park in Germany for SANY, and at the same time, the Financial Times was talking to Budmeister, the founder, and they asked him about potential IPOs and going public, and the idea of being bought, and he was very clear that that was not in their future. A linking point between the two companies is both of them were supplying concrete pumps to the Fukushima nuclear reactor to try and contain, and it's, up until this point, it is the one key linking point of that we found with both companies being in the same area, working together. The Budmeister founder in the middle of 2011 was approached, and in a very, very short period of time, 6 months, the $475 million merger between SANY and Budmeister was concluded. It has been brought up in the time frame that SANY has moved extremely fast and has made some very big mistakes in their launch into the Western markets. In Germany, they put their own managers in Chinese managers in place. They had problems with integrating. Instead of rewriting manuals and safety procedures, they simply translated from Chinese into whichever language they needed, which was not very successful. For a Chinese company, SANY had a very, very open-minded approach. Their managers and their senior staff were not punished for making mistakes. In fact, they were rewarded as long as they could come up with a positive solution for the future. So this is the basic, the history of SANY and Budmeister, the two companies, how they have progressed over the last 5 years towards the point where in 2012, 31st of January, it was announced that the merger was concluded. And I'm now going to be handing over to Papa, who will continue with the rest of the game theory.
Thanks. Well, can I just start by saying that if we look at the game, which started arguably in 2007 and culminated with the merger in 2012, we can see that very, very rapid decisions were taken at the appropriate time by SANY. We're going to talk about T, which is now, and what happened prior to T, and we're going to talk about T+1. But what we want to emphasize here is that a Nash equilibrium was achieved when the two companies decided to merge. The market changed, the game changed for both players, and I can even give you the Nash moment. So what we have here is the signature between the president, one of the founders, who happens to be the richest man in China, signing the deal with the founder master, and behind we have the President of China and Angela Merkel. For me, this is not just a national moment, but this is a big signal for the international market, for people like Caterpillar and Komatsu. There is no doubt that SANY went into the market as a fringe player because up until then, they only controlled 4%. Only 4% of their revenues were based on overseas markets. Everything was earned within their home market, which is China. And of course, there is no disputing the fact that at the time of the merger, Budweiser was the dominant incumbent because they controlled 40% of the concrete pumping trucks worldwide. So that would even make them much better or much bigger in China. And the strategy of SANY was to go and acquire Budweiser and make themselves, into the biggest player in Germany, and in doing so, reduce the fringe even, now we have a smaller donut hole, which means that there are other smaller players, but now it is a competition between mainly the merged company and these two. Okay, so I'm going to explain now why I think it's a Maris company and why I think it's not a Bomo game. If you look at the stock price and the way that the stock price has been dancing around for the last 5 years, you see that there's a downward trend. And this is the case for a company which is about to acquire. So if company A is trying to acquire company B, you will see that prior to the acquisition, the share price of company A tends to fall, and the share price of company B tends to rise. So we don't have the financials to show you Budweiser's financial because they're private, but you can see from the share price that the trend is down for SANY. And the other thing that we also realized is that if you look at their actions, their financial actions, you'll see that they're listed in Shanghai to raise equity in order to acquire these companies. And they're looking at potential listings in Tokyo and in Hong Kong. And in terms of dividends, you can appreciate the fact that in the last 5 years, they've only paid dividends 3 times. And this is because we have evidence in the analysis that they have Bayesians who have actually entered their shareholders, their list of shareholders. So in terms of type, technology and time, what we can say is that the fact that they're focusing on listing, on multiple listing, the fact that they're beefing up their R&D because they're spending as much as 7% of their net sales on R&D, that's substantial. The fact that, we have this, the small dividends that we're paying, all point to the fact that their third variable is growth.
5 minutes?
And I'm just going to let you watch, if you don't mind, a 30 minutes presentation of the founder.
That's all I can say, boys.
30 minutes, 30 seconds, sorry. That's done. Okay, please listen. So there you have it. He's a man on a mission, and his mission is to conquer the world. And we believe that it's just started with the concrete pumping trucks. In terms of the technology, we know that they're building reserve capacity. We know that they have 4 R&D centers in China, and they have 4 others worldwide. And in terms of the time, we can establish a presence between a contact between the 2 people in Fukushima that was at time t minus 1. And at time t, we see the merger happening only less than a year after that. And in time t plus 1, just like we've seen in the video, we think that the new game is going to be played at a worldwide stage. So let me unpack everything in this slide. We have a maritime player, and that is evidenced by all the financial data that we've been able to gather, by the statements of the founder, and also by the decisions that were made by the company in terms of R&D. We also know that it's a Kono game because all the signals that we've seen from the companies now at the moment, they're all non-price signals. And we've also seen the technology. One thing that I want you to also understand and appreciate is the fact that this guy has now joined the Chinese Politburo. So now he's a politician. And I can't help but think that maybe that has something to do with the speed with which they were able to acquire Padmaster. And everybody knows that Chinese companies, the big ones, they're state-owned companies, and there's a lot of political interference in Chinese business, and maybe that's the reason why he has decided to go into politics. So that's for the technology. And we believe that they're using a maximum payout by going in and getting the maximum of benefit for the minimum of action. So it's a go strategy. And the new arrival is Padmeister that we all understand from the presentation. And we believe that the game has ended and a new game is about to begin. All right, so in terms of conclusion, I think that SANY provides an alternative model for the management of ambitious companies pondering how to achieve competitive advantages quickly in the target market. The deal was done within 6 months, and everybody was happy. The fact that they've kept the brand identity, because the SANY brand is not going to be dissolved, it's still going to be there, but they're going to optimize the brand. We think that this brand identity means that maybe they're planning a strategy for a different part of the world. Maybe they want to use the SANY brand in the developing countries, but we don't know that. So now, the problem that they're faced with is that in Germany, they went in with the mindset of a fringe player, and now they're a dominant incumbent. So how do they change their mindset? The other thing also is we don't know in time T+1 how they're going to expand globally. Are they going to bring their other products into the global markets? And the key question for us is, will SANY, Caterpillar, and Komatsu be players in a new game? Thank you. Any questions?
Okay. What is it about the acquisition of Putzmeister that gives SANY a competitive advantage in the home territory of China? What is it about the acquisition of Putzmeister that gives SANY a competitive advantage in its home territory, China?
We're talking about with Germany as the region.
I understand, but the acquisition of Padmeister is the technology that comes with Padmeister is of a superior level, and as I mentioned, Padmeister is a 40% global share. So the quality and the R&D that they have purchased in the acquisition, I think will be a benefit for them to compete against Zoomlion and XCMG in China.
Good. If I put it another way, in this new game, now that you have a nice equilibrium, we have potential competitors in both Komatsu and Caterpillar. But is there any hint in the game that Zoomlion, for example, would repeat the SANY strategy in acquiring another?
They already have.
Yeah,
They already have, because the already started proceedings to acquire one of the main companies in Germany.
Yeah, XCMG have, well, neither XCMG or Schwingstetter will confirm from the Financial Times or Bloomberg what the rumors, but the rumors are that XCMG is looking to take over Schwingstetter and therefore become the near rival to SANY Packmeister in the global arena, in the concrete pump truck market. And we are very limited, as I said, in the concrete pump truck market. For Caterpillar, for example, it is a completely different game and a completely different market that they will be attacking.
So is there an argument to make that while your geography is Germany, predicated on you arriving at a nice equilibrium, could one argue, being devil's advocate, that Germany within a geographic game is a sub-game to China, which is the game?
No, I'm just thinking about the big market and global. Because right now, in terms of the market share, Pullmeiser and also Swing, they have almost 75% of market share of concrete pumping truck in the world. So I just thinking this is the opposite what you are asking.
But can get my view is it is a sub game on a macro level, on a China level. So in the news, a lot of big examples with big acquisitions with China in various various industries, agriculture, energy, engineering. So China is coming.
Okay, let me put it another way. As you argue SANY as a de novo entrant, the key driver of a de novo entrant in terms of a game technology is the ability to exploit economies of scope. So while we can accept that SANY are going to exploit economies of scope, where is the Velcro leap? Is it into China or is it global?
Global.
Okay, good. Group 1? Question from Group 1?
Yeah, it's a question about the Bayesian investors that you had in there. Your graph showed them the numbers, the quantity that they had. You had the third one, which is what, was that 3 or 4 years ago? Was significantly bigger than the second one, which was sort of 3 years or 2 years previous to that. Just a question about that. Do you think that flushed out the Bayesians in terms that they no longer gave had to give a dividend thereafter, although perhaps in flushing them out that caused the share price to fall further?
The third dividend was actually issued on instruction from the Chinese government. Up until then, a lot of Chinese companies had actually paid dividends in shares. And in that period, well, both 2007 and 2009, they were instructed to pay dividends in cash.
So what signal do you think that sends from the government? Is that a promotion of the company, they want it to do better?
But it wasn't just for this company, it was across the board for Chinese companies.
For all companies, yeah, because the bigger picture is that, the bigger picture, of course, is China and the RMB. One step in that game is for China companies to be the vanguard, if you like, for the RMB, for example, by paying cash dividend as opposed to scrip dividend.
So this is a bigger play.
A
bigger play.
And you know, the Bayesian in the equation here is actually the Chinese government. They're the negative sentiment in the company. Yeah.
Okay. Group 3?
I have some. Regarding the near rider, I think for SANY it will be like XCMG or something, but not Westminster in the game, because Westminster is away ahead before SANY.
What time period I talk about T or
they've merged now. They cannot be a near rival.
Now they're merged. But they're not merging because that's near real. The near rival was XCMG.
In the Chinese market, yes, but not in the market where
but it's XCMG also all over the world.
Some clarification. So we choose only concrete pumping, not the whole construction machineries.
Yes.
So our conclusion based on information which was available, publicly available in the public domain. So, and according to that information, we believe that Putzmeister was a near rival in international area, not in the Chinese area. So that's basically, I mean, my view.
Yeah.
But you can extend.
Do you need more proof?
We can discuss the, I mean, you represent the Caterpillar, so we can.
We'll get to you next workshop.
One more thing, that the next game, you said that the next game gonna be against Caterpillar and Komatsu, but that's different subject.
We're saying Komatsu do have concrete pumps, but we believe that the target, as we said, we focused on concrete pumps, but to take economies of scale, SANY now have a distribution and a service network in the Putzmeister network worldwide that they can now start distributing their other products, which was something we looked at, but is not relevant in the concrete pump market. So in the future, and Caterpillar is trying to get very strong in China. They're working the reverse direction to what SANY is. So I believe that there will be a very, very interesting game between SANY, Caterpillar, and Komatsu in the T+1.
Okay, group number 4, question. Group number 4.
An easy question.
No, actually, like part was addressed already because I was thinking when you put the conclusion, you put some hints in terms of SANY could follow global expansion with their other products, but then I would ask you like strategies of the company, say after domination becoming incumbent in Germany, where after that? Okay, globally it's a bit hard, but where? Exactly in Europe or go in Americas or so? I would ask you that, but
probably improve at home as well with the merger, the R&D. As we said, they're contributing up to 7% of net sales to R&D, so most likely compete in that market as well.
If I could just say one thing, you saw the owner saying that he wants to dominate the world. So I think that wherever he sets his mind, he's going to go. He's got the might of the Chinese government behind him.
no, just challenge because if you guys come in Brazil, we have a problem because we play a very low, like they dominate the market then in terms of low price and scale. So it's difficult to emphasize.
Putzmeister have representation and offices in Brazil. So SANY have now got their entrance into Brazil again. It was a very good move buying Putzmeister. It was.
SANY had a R&D center in Brazil. Although Putzmeister was weak in a east-middle market, that's why they could together be a global leader in concrete pumping. They said that.
And there was a piece in the Financial Times, and the argument of the contributor was that for a company to aspire to global expansion, they really have to have deep roots in the home country. So I think that what Haytham said about going back to China and comforting their dominance could be a very, very good probability before they actually look into Europe, because they already have the R&D and the supply chain that will enable them to take advantage of the economy of scope that they have in the area. And then maybe, why not the US, where it is the turf of Caterpillar, you know, because they have the dominant market share.
Okay, finally, group number 5.
When SANY acquired Putzmeister, actually it's a big jump, and then a great opportunity for SANY to have the bigger market. But in terms of the economic scale, if you see in the financial report, can you back to the financial report?
The graph.
The graph, yeah. If you see from here, actually in 2012, the stock price for SANY is a stagnant, and then more or less decline, something like that. So I don't think it's a signal. It's like a signal. I think it's like a signal that market think that this is not effective. For
you're making a judgment on something that's 6 weeks old. I mean, half the world hasn't even has probably not even adjusted to the merger or been able to see anything positive or negative from that merger. The one thing that was on the timeline is as well another German-Austrian link is they've just started a joint venture with Pelfinger Cranes, and the technology that and the knowledge that's going to come in hydraulic arms and crane arms into the concrete pump market from that joint venture is going to benefit both Packmeister and SANY. So I think that the final announcement was done in the first week of February. So I think that the price 12.20, 12.50, 13, you're 100% right, but I don't think there's been enough time for the market to be able to see the advantage of the merger.
Okay, and just finally, have you candidates for the three variables X, Y, and Z? You have growth as one of the variables?
Yes.
X and Y?
The X and Y was a bit difficult for us because Packmeister do not publish their financial information.
Right.
So we focused on the third variable to be able to come up with the Maris model.
But we can extrapolate and say that on one axis you have R&D, and on the other axis you have maybe sorry, maybe the growth is the third variable. Maybe
And you have your dividends from SANY. If you think of SANY only,
yeah.
I mean, you've got a rich data set with 3 dividend signals, which technically is a pattern, because there's more than 2.
Yeah.
Then the implication would be, if it's a negative correlation, less R&D. So they compensate for that by acquiring Packmeister, and that then will generate the third variable, T+1, which is growth. Okay, guys, thank you very much.